What's going on, traders? My name's Dillon. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be looking at the MetaTrader 5 series once again, which in this episode we are going to be coding in conditions so that we are only taking trades when a new candle has opened, because we did see in the last video the effects on what the on-tick function does, and of course if we want to be trading candle opens only, the on-tick function doesn't really help us too much. So we're going to be looking at how to combat this and how to code in conditions so that we don't trade on ticks, we trade on candle opens. Now, again, this is what we're going to be learning. However, we are going to be taking a look at the iTime function more specifically today, which takes a symbol, a period, and the shift. And the shift is just a translation to the left or in the past on how many candles you want to translate to. Normally, this would be a shift of 0 because the current candle, again, would be taking the value of 0, and we want to be trading the current candle. And so that is going to be valuable information for us. So the iTime function returns the opening time of the current candle, which is again the candle number 0. Again, if you're doing a translation, then you can put in the previous amount of candles that you want. However, we're just going to be looking at the current candle for the particular symbol that you are trading. Now, this is going to be used with an if statement so that we can only process trades based on the current candle opening. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and here is the reference for the iTime. It's going to be a relatively quick video, particularly because we spent an hour in last week's video looking at how to code in indicators, so hopefully this is going to be short and sweet. So traders, I'm now in the meta editor, and this is where we got up to in last week's video where we coded in our MACD indicator. Now, last week's video was a very long one. It took us over an hour just to get through all of that, all for good reason, because there was a lot of detail that we did have to go through, particularly for arrays and of course coding in the indicators, because it is a relatively complex process to actually code in indicators within MetaTrader 5. However, it is what it is, and with that complexity again comes a lot of functionality, which we're going to see moving forward. Now, again, if you haven't watched last week's video, particularly because it was long, maybe some of you are still working through it and you might not be up to date, then I do recommend pausing this video, watching our previous videos, so that way you can get up to speed and you can get up to date with your expert advisor so that you can follow along with this series and this particular episode. So I'm not going to go through the code. I'm just going to get straight into it. And the first thing that we're going to be doing is actually looking at the iTime function, which we did mention at the start of the video in the introductions. Now, the iTime function is going to be best used in the on-tick function. That's where, again, majority of our coding is going to be. Now, I'm going to use the iTime function just before we actually start the expert advisor starts looking at our MACD strategy or indicator, and of course we're going to add to this as well, like put in trading conditions and money management and the like. So just before all of that, we're going to be putting in our iTime function and our if statements over here, so that way when the on-tick function runs, everything in the on-tick function is going to run, but then there's going to be a subsequent if statement where we're going to be checking if there is a new candle or not. If there is a new candle, then we run the rest of our code or the rest of our expert advisor. So hopefully you understand that logic. Now, iTime again takes a symbol, a time frame or period, and then a shift. Now, we're not using the shift, we're actually going to be using 0. Now, I do need to declare a variable over here, and I'm going to declare that variable for this iTime function to be called time last tick processed equals this particular variable. Now, I need to declare this variable. However, I'm not declaring it in the on-tick function. I'm going to declare it as a global variable just up the top here, and this is going to be a static date time variable, and it's not going to be given any value. So again, the variable is called time last tick processed, and it's the date time type variable, and I'm giving it a static variable so that way it keeps the same value that was previously in it unless it's updated, and that's what static does. Now, let me just comment this. Stores the last time a tick was processed based off candle Awesome. Now I'm leaving a space here because I'm going to add something else over here. But what we're going to be doing is spending some time down here. Now, let's compile this, see if we get any errors. No, we don't. Now, what I'm going to do is actually, before we actually code in our if statement, just see what this actual, this variable does with the iTime function in here. And how we're going to do that is, again, going to be looking at the comment section. So just next to, or what I'm going to do, next to symbol, I'm going to add time function. And I might add in, just to make it a little bit easier, just to space it out a little bit, just a space on either side, something like that. So I've added in this section of code in our comment section, which will get the time last tick processed, and I've just got spaces either side, just so that the strings or the values don't get sandwiched together. Now that that's compiled, let's start our expert advisor. Again, I'm on 1 minute open, high, low closes, but let's see what actually happens. Now, we are operating as per usual before. We've got ticks received, and we're again on the 1 minute open, high, low close. So our ticks being received are based on 1 minute open, high, low closes, and not based on candle opens on this particular time frame, which I believe we're on the 1 hour. Now, yes, we are on the 1 hour. Now, what we have added in is this new string or section of code down here, which is the time the last tick was processed, or that variable. And that variable is being taken from the iTime function. And again, that iTime function is based off the getting the candle open for this particular bar. Now, notice here how each time a candle opens, this value changes. But notice again how the MT server time, which is running, and this has got the hour, the minutes, and the seconds, this is still running as per usual, but even though this on tick function keeps running and we do have new ticks, the candle open, of course, remains the same, because the candle open is going to be the same for the whole bar. Now, this iTime function, again, takes the candle open only. So even though a new tick is run, this doesn't change unless there is a new candle opening. So we can now use this, store this value, and use it to actually make an if statement, so that we are only trading when this value, for example, changes, or when there is a new bar. And that's going to be very important. So the iTime function is very, very useful for this particular expert. Now that we've got this time, this over here, time last tick process, what we're going to be doing is adding in, of course, our if statement. Now, let me put in a comment, checks for new candle. Now, the first thing I want to do is put in a new variable, and that's going to be a Boolean called is new candle, and it's going to have the default value of false on initiation. And then we're going to put in our if statement. Now, I'm going to put in our if statement in one go, and then I'm going to explain it in a bit more detail, because it will get a little bit confusing, and I want to do this all in one go. So we've got here if time last tick processed is not equal to, and I'm going to copy this iTime, this same iTime over here, close me bracket, and basically this is saying that if there is a new candle, then we're going to go true, else false. Now, just to run through this, what's happening here, I've declared a new Boolean, which is not, which is going to be useful in just a moment. But this if statement over here. Now, this if statement is checking whether there's essentially a new candle. Now, if there is a new candle, then I want this Boolean, our Boolean up here. So is there new candle to equal to true, which means there, of course, is a new candle. And I want to, if there is a new candle, I want to store the most recent candle open within time last ticked process. So then that variable gets updated with the new candle open value. Now, where this comes in is actually up over here. What this is saying is if the previous candle that was processed is not equal to iTime symbol period, whatever, and essentially this iTime is getting the most recent, the most current candle open value on the current candle that we're on. So essentially what this is saying is if the last candle processed is not up to date, there is a new candle, which is what this value is getting. If there is a new candle, then it's going to process the trading strategy, and it's going to say that yes, there is a new candle. Now, I hope that made sense. Watch it, rewind it a couple of times because it takes a little bit to get your head around. However, this if statement works, and it works wonders. So what we're going to do is, now that we've got our is new candle to be true, we're going to go if is new candle equals, and remember, if you're doing an if statement, you need to have two equals for an equals, or if you're doing not equals, then you would have the exclamation mark and equals, just like over here. But for if statements, you need to have equals or two equal signs over here because we're doing a condition. Is equal to true, then we're going to be, of course, doing something, and that something is going to be running our code or our expert advisor. And that's it. I'm keeping the comment in the onTick function. There's a reason for that. However, for this looks like it's good. So again, what this is saying is if there is a new candle, so if there is a new candle, then we want the is new candle to equal true. And then because there is a new candle, this is going to run our expert advisor conditions. And if it's not a new candle, then this is of course going to be false. And then it's going to skip the bulk of our expert advisor and just comment what's happening over here and comment the new ticks received and other things that we're going to be having have down here, of course. Compile, hopefully that works. Awesome. Now let's go back into our trading strategy, start our expert and see what happens. Now, what we do have here is nothing much, nothing too dissimilar to what we were actually looking at before. We do actually have a little bit of a bug, and we're going to be fixing that in just a moment. But we can see here now that we still have our last candle processed, which is again ticking over when there is a new candle. So that's still operating fine, and that's good. That's still operating. But what we've lost now is this MACD, our actual trading strategy over here. Now, before we fix that, what I want to do is actually understand and make sure that this is working properly, noting that there has been a minor change, noting that it's an error. I want to actually add in another counter. Now, we've got a counter here that is ticks received, and every time the onTick function runs, we receive a new tick, and then this counter gets updated. Now, what I want to do is do something similar, however, for ticks processed. Now, ticks processed is going to be value or going to be looked at from a open candle perspective. So every time an open candle is or a new candle has been opened, the ticks process counter is going to update, and that's exactly what we're going to do, just to make sure and test that we've got our code running properly in terms of this this condition over here. So I'm going to go back up to the global variables section, and I'm going to put in a new counter. Now, what we did in the last one for ticks received counts is declared it as a global variable up here. I've just copied that across and pasted it. Again, I'm going to have to, of course, declare this as a different variable name. So ticks processed, and that will equal 0. And this counts the number of ticks processed from the onInit function based off candle opens only. Awesome. So we got ticks processed, which is that. And we're going to add our counter each time a new candle is processed. So of course down here, plus, we do that. Counts the number of ticks processed. Now, the last thing that we're going to do is, of course, comment this. So I'm going to just comment what we've done before. So ticks received, I've copied this whole line and just pasted it down. Ticks received, instead of ticks received count, we got processed count, and we changed the string to process. And the last thing I want to do is just remove one of these new row, new lines. So I've just removed one, so that way these are grouped together, and then we have the new row, new line for simples traded. Awesome. Compile. Now, this is hopefully where we see the magic happens. There we go. And that's awesome. And that's exactly what we want to be seeing. So we've got here in the comment section, we've got here our new code, which is ticks processed. And notice how every time a new candle is received, our ticks processed counter increases by 1. Now, again, we've got here US AD USD, which is the pair that we're currently on. We've got the time that the last candle was open. And then we've got, well, we have sometimes we've got here the MACD long or short bias that we did code in our last episode. However, that's glitching. That's not showing in our code all the time. Now, there is a reason for that, and that is because where we've declared our variables and where we've reset our variables is not actually in the right spot. And that's what I wanted to highlight in this episode. Is it's very important to understand where you're declaring your variables, where you're resetting your variables to, for example, 0 or blank, because this is a string, it's blank. And it's very important to actually know what's happening and then make the changes where appropriate. So what is happening, and it probably makes a bit more sense if we go into the code. What is happening is string concatenate gets declared. Our string indicator metrics gets declared and it gets reset up here. Now, of course, this gets reset each time the onTick function runs. It gets declared first, resets the variable to blank, and then it runs through the code. Now, if the onTick function runs, it gets reset, and then if the new candle function runs, of course it goes through our code and it goes through MACD, and then there's the string concatenate, which we went through last episode, that concatenates the indicator metrics variable over here. However, if this doesn't run, then all of this doesn't run, of course. So then that means that we're resetting the indicator metrics, but it's not storing what's happened over here, because this gets reset each time the onTick function runs. And of course, that's a big error. So what we want to do is declare string indicator metrics into our global variable. So we want to declare it first. I'm going to put it, where's a nice place to put it? I'll put it here. So string, actually, no, I don't. Yeah, I'll put it here. I'm fussy. Let me put it here. So I've declared string indicator metrics over here. And then what I'm going to do is go back down here and just make some changes over here. Now, I don't need to declare it again, of course. So I'm going to remove that. So now it's already declared. However, again, I want to reset it, not in the onTick function, but reset it if there is a new candle received. So I'm going to be resetting it over here. Now I can remove that, compile that. Now I'm getting some errors over here. Ticks received count. And that's because I haven't put the semicolon in. Common mistake. There we go. Now let's go and have a look to see what happens now. And there we go. Now we fixed it. So that is how important it is to declare your variables, indicators, and reset your indicators in appropriate spots. And so now our expert advisor looks like it's running properly, which is good. There we go. Just went short. We did get a confirmation of a crossover. Let's just watch it a couple of times just to make sure it is performing right. But you would see there that there were some minor crossovers where in last week's video, we saw that because it was running in the onTick function, those crossovers would have actually led to a trade. Now, because we're only, right, this is going to confirmed crossover, we entered long. Now, as I was saying, because in last week's video, we would have seen we would have entered a trade because the onTick function was running and it was entering in, I guess, prematurely. Now we're entering in based on candle confirmations, which is, I guess, more appropriate for this trading strategy and how most trading strategies do operate. They do wait for candle confirmations. Now, if you want to do on ticks, then that's fine. Or you can even use the iTime function and change it to, for example, if you're trading a 1 hour time frame, but maybe you want to change it to, for example, a 15-minute. It checks every 15 minutes, then you can do that too. You just change the period. It doesn't have to be the same period as what you're trading. However, it makes a bit more sense if it is. Now, it looks like that's operating fine. And just notice again how the ticks received goes up every time a new candle is received. And that's good to see. Now, that looks like it's operating, and the final thing I want to do is just do a quick tidy up of our comment section over here, just to clean it up a little bit and set us up for our next few episodes. Now, where was our comment? Now, comment function over here has symbol, time, last tick processed, and then indicator metrics. What I'm going to do is actually clean this up a bit and just have indicator metrics, but then move symbol, time, ticks processed to our indicator metrics string concatenate within this section over here. So I'm going to space this out a bit. So we're going to be adding in this over here. So what we're going to be adding in is, again, similar to what we did, but string concatenate down over here. So we're going to use string concatenate, and again, string concatenate, what we need to do is tell it what we are going to be concatenating. So we're going to be concatenating indicator metrics. And what are we going to be adding to indicator metrics? Well, we're going to be adding in the symbol, which is what we had before. And what we're going to be adding in is time, tick last processed, and finish that. And what I want to do actually is add in, instead of what I've got down here with the spaces, what I want to add in here is instead, I want to put in something like this. Last processed, something like that. Now I've added those in so I can remove that. That was just being used as a reference. But let's compile that, go back to our expert and see what happens. So you'll see the workflow as well of what I'm doing, where I compile, test, check, compile, and just go back and forth a little bit. And it's a good habit to get into. You don't want to be making a lot of changes, and then, you know, after those lot of changes, you find that there's an error and you don't know where that error is coming from. However, what we do have at the moment is something that, well, in the code sense, is a bit more cleaner, and it's operating pretty good, I have to say, over here. It looks like it's all operating fine. We've got last ticks processed, and then we've got the date time that it's being processed, and that's just the time when the new candle was received. And then we just seen a long signal over there, and so we would have gone long on the candle open over there. So that is really good. So that means that this is operating quite well. It's operating pretty good, and I think there is no issues with this one. So of course, you would probably want to watch this and check over it and really, you know, slow it down, speed it up, and make sure that your signals are operating fine. But I'm pretty confident that it is. Watch this candle confirmation. We would have got a small confirmation there. We did, even though it was probably pretty hard to see. But that's the good thing about expert advisors, is that it's very accurate. It's either yes or no. It's very black and white. And that's what we want to be when we are trading. We want to remove any bias from our trading strategy as possible, and any discretion, particularly if you are being an algorithmic trader. So that is actually it. What I want to do... No, that's fine. That's good. So that's it. Hopefully this episode was a bit quicker than last week's one. Well, it definitely is. I didn't record for an hour. But hopefully it is roughly that 15-minute mark. So you can go through this pretty comfortably. We only did some minor changes, but a very powerful change and a very important one. So that moving forward, we are now set up for all the other things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be adding in some more indicators, and then adding in, of course, some actual trading conditions or trades to our trading strategy, and then money management to follow that. So that's what we're going to be doing in subsequent episodes. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. If you need a hand, or if you are stuck for whatever reason, you of course can go back and revisit these videos, but you can also join the Discord community too. You can pop in your questions there, and we'll be keeping an eye out on those questions, and we can ask the community, or you can ask the community, and we can all help out and chip in and learn from each other, which is going to be very, very important. Again, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this and other videos that I do post up on the channel. Leave a like, it really helps the channel out, and comment below as well if you had any questions or any thoughts on the videos. So with all that being said, hope you enjoyed this one. Hopefully it was a lot quicker than last week, but again, very important. So have a great day, happy trading, and I'll see you in the next one.